Here's her running mate, Governor Walz, and his wife, Gwen. And behind them, the campaign song, Freedom, by Beyonce. In addition to the economy, the middle class, she talked about foreign policy, our place in the world, fighting for Ukraine, Israel, and Hamas, saying that there must be a ceasefire. We must get the hostages home. But at the same time, to thunderous applause in this convention hall, she said we must do something for the Palestinians, the civilians who've been caught in the middle of this conflict. She talked about the freedoms and the rights of Americans, talked about reproductive freedom for women. And in talking about her opponent and his running mate and the architects of where they have headed with the falling of Roe versus Wade, she said, simply put, they are out of their minds. That's a line that will be remembered from tonight. And I do want to say that during her speech, there were a number of times where the crowd began chanting USA, USA. There was a sort of leaning in on patriotism, on faith, on family bonds in this country, and you've seen that as sort of a through line of this entire four-night convention. And as the balloons fall, Linsey Davis, we cannot overstate the history also being made here tonight.
You know, history, of course, is not red or blue, and I think regardless of your politics, it's significant to note that when Kamala Harris was born in 1964, that black women in this country did not have the right to vote. And today, at 59 years old, she accepted the Democratic nomination to be president of the United States. You know, really a full circle moment as well. Jimmy Carter, when he was running in 1976 to be president, it was Joe Biden who was actually one of his advisors who recommended as a vice president that he choose Congresswoman Barbara Jordan of Texas, a black woman. Now, Jimmy Carter ultimately didn't choose her, but it was our former colleague, ABC News anchor Carol Simpson, who interviewed her that year, and she said, do you think that this country is ready for a black woman to be on the national ticket? To which she said, no, but I'm going to help this country get ready. I think that's what we've witnessed, really, and culminating in this moment, a group of people who are hoping that in 2024, this country is ready.
We can see her family embracing her, the fabric of her family that they have defined over the course of these 4 nights, in many ways reflective of so many families in this country. Divorced parents, new step-parents who come in and help co-parent the children. They've leaned in on that, Mary Bruce. And tonight, Kamala Harris made the case for herself. She's been the vice president for 4 years. Often the role of vice president isn't a defined one, but she defined where she thinks this country should head, and she made the case as to why she believes she's the right person for this moment.
David, she said she is no stranger to unlikely journeys, and she has carved out her own journey. She cast herself tonight as that change candidate. Yes, she introduced herself again to the American people. She shared her personal story, but she zeroed in not necessarily on her record, though she did talk about that a fair amount, but her plan to take on Trump. I was surprised at how much she talked about Donald Trump, to be quite honest, in simple, blunt terms, pitting her plans against what she argued are the risks posed by another Trump presidency. It felt like a speech aimed very much at those key independent voters, those who might still be on the fence, might not be sure about this remarkable change we have seen in this ticket over just the last month. Keep that in mind. A month ago, she was the running mate. And those are the ones who will decide this race. And we also talked about the tone of this speech, which was really remarkable. And I think, you know, the power of telling her own story in her own voice as vice president. She has been criticized for being stiff, for relying on those talking points. I can tell you, I've spent a lot of time with Kamala Harris in the halls of the Senate as vice president when she was running before. She can often come off as a very different person when the cameras are not rolling. Tonight, I saw that version of Kamala Harris shine through, and it felt like a conversation with the American people in a lot of ways, David.
It sure seemed that way, and she seemed completely comfortable in the moment. She knows the history she's making tonight, but she leaned in on that history. I'm also taking note here that with the family surrounding her, the smile on her face, she's also leaned into the laughter, the joy. There was a lot of that laughter tonight during the speech. And John Carl, she said, in the enduring struggle between democracy and tyranny, I know where I stand and where the United States of America belongs, to chants of USA, USA in this convention hall.
David, there is a race that is on. It started about 4 weeks ago to define who Kamala Harris is. The Trump campaign, Donald Trump, have tried to define her as a radical leftist, a communist. They call her Comrade Kamala. What you saw here is a full-throated answer to that in this speech. Mary's exactly right, in my view. This was, in a large measure, aimed at independent voters, at even disaffected Republicans, as well as the base of the Democratic Party. She knows she has them already. So she went out, she talked about herself as being realistic, practical, somebody who has common sense. That's not a radical, that's not a leftist, that's not a hardcore progressive. Realistic, practical, and has common sense. And then the specifics. She talked about a strong national defense. No taking on the Pentagon there. She talked about the full-throated defense of Israel, ensuring that Israel has what it has to defend itself. No arms embargo there. Endorsing that bipartisan security bill that a lot on the left don't like because it was too tough. This was a Kamala Harris that was embracing a lot of what Republicans have said they stand for, and she made the case Donald Trump, with the help of some Republican speakers, don't stand for.